Hey guys, Leslie here, and today I want to talk to you about how you can trigger your body's own cellular renewal process called autophagy without actually having to fast. So in other videos, I've mentioned how important autophagy is to a healthy longevity or a healthy lifespan, and fasting is probably the most famous way of inducing this. But for some of us, in particular, people like me who are hypothyroid, we have a problem because our bodies, when we start to fast for too long, our bodies begin to think we're in starvation mode and they down-regulate our thyroid hormone, which governs our metabolism, and basically put us into a kind of energetic hibernation, an energetic and metabolic hibernation, so that all we want to do is sleep all day and we're a bit brain fogged, gain a bit of weight. So what are the other ways that we can induce autophagy without having to do that kind of fasting? Now, I've talked about intermittent fasting before, which is something that I like to do, where I will fast for 15 to 16 hours a day. I've mentioned that in another video, but you can also do something called the ketogenic diet. And that's where you take 75% of your calories in the form of fat and about 5 to 10% of your calories from carbs. So in a situation like that, you'd have a tiny bit of protein, probably less than 50 grams, and a very small amount of carbs, definitely less than 50 grams. And you would be slathering, imagine a heaping bowl of vegetables, maybe something like broccoli or cauliflower, cooked, of course, that will help with production of glutathione. You'd slather that with butter or coconut oil or olive oil. In particular, those of you who have the ApoE4 gene, you do not want to have the coconut oil and you do not want to have the butter. Stay away from those saturated fats, go to olive oil instead. So for everybody, olive oil works great. So that's one thing that you can do. You can do that ketogenic diet. Personally, I don't like having people on the ketogenic diet for a very long time because I think you lose that metabolic flexibility, that ability to burn glycogen. So remember, when you are in ketosis, you are actually training your body to burn something called ketones, and instead of glycogen, which is from glucose. And well, it's terrific to burn fat, and obviously that allows us to get very lean and get rid of those saddlebags and things like that. You don't want to lose the ability to burn sugar. And the reason why is because if you break your fast in ketosis and you reintroduce some glycogen, you're going to flip a switch in your body that's going to allow you to create stem cells. So I actually like that metabolic flexibility. And as a matter of fact, great leaders in this, like Walter Longo, suggest that if you are in good physical condition, you're not overweight, then you might only need to fast once a year. And in this case, something like ketosis, you might only need to do once a year. Or if you are trying to lose weight, do it until you get to the weight that you're looking for, but you don't need to stay on it forever. It would be a great way to get you to that ideal weight that you're hoping to be, and then, slowly reintroduce so that you get the benefit of those stem cells. So the ketogenic diet is one way to induce autophagy without actually having to fast. Another way is through intense exercise. And this doesn't necessarily mean running a marathon to exhaustion. And in fact, I actually have seen too many older athletes who have, even masters athletes who have completely shot their knees. They're on their second set of knee replacements and maybe they're going to do hip replacements. That's just a little bit that's a lot of stress on the body. And ideally, we'd like to keep our joints going for as long as possible. So the question is really, how do we trigger autophagy without destroying our skeleton, our joints, our ligaments, and muscles? And there are two ways that you can do that. One is with resistance training, lifting heavy weights. And another way is through high intensity interval training. And you can actually combine those. So my trainer at the gym, hi Sammy, she actually will have me, when I do get back into the gym after lockdown, she will actually have me do a HIIT session with a lot of heavy weights. And if you're at home and you want to do this, there are things that you can do. I can actually show you a few. So for resistance training, I like this slingshot, and they're not super expensive, but they're just great resistance bands. And I actually have a bunch that are actually made of a really strong rubber that are used with something called the X3 bar. And the X3 bar, I have images of me doing this several years ago on my Instagram feed. If you want to watch a video of me using this. The X3 bar is great because you literally stand on a platform, and underneath the platform is a resistance band, a really serious resistance band. And X3 have about 4 different resistance bands that come with this. And then you've got a bar, and I'll just show you the bar. This is the bar, and I've left my resistance bands upstairs, but basically what you would do is you would put, and this is not the one, oh God, I can't even stretch that, but basically you put them through these loops here, these metal loops. And what's terrific about the bar is that if you're lifting hard, and I'll do a video where, well, you can look on my Instagram feed and you'll definitely see me using this. But when you lift, your feet are planted on the, on the foot plate, and the resistance band is caught underneath. So you are using your body weight to resist and pull this thing up. And normally your wrist would be the limiting factor here, and you might really injure yourself. But these, the fact that this little loop here swivels means that you don't actually put pressure onto your wrist. Instead, it's going to go straight to your bicep. So terrific kind of resistance training. And another one that I like, and I've done other videos on, is out of Japan. And, this is called Katsu. And there are lots of videos on the internet about Katsu. I love all the guys that work at Katsu. It's a fantastic team of people that have popularized the work of Dr. Sato, the fellow in Japan who's worked with the academics at Tokyo University to bring blood flow restriction and moderation to the United States, but to other countries as well. And really, you can grow muscle very easily doing that. But you should, if you do, if you're doing it to exhaustion and you're doing this high intensity interval training, you would then also be able to trigger autophagy. So those are 2 ways that you can do it. So it would be diet, say ketosis, and through different forms of exercise. Another way is then through your sleep. So getting really good quality sleep at night will induce autophagy. And by that, I mean that you don't actually have something called sleep fragmentation. And that's where you're waking up, you're kind of looking at the alarm clock and thinking, is it time to get up? No, it's not time to get up. Or you're getting up and you're going to the bathroom. All of those things actually interrupt your sleep. What you want is to sleep all the way through. And the reason why is it seems that rapid eye movement sleep has been associated with autophagy. And that's when in the brain, something called the glymphatic system is activated. So one of the things that they noticed at Cornell University when they were studying the brain was that at night, the different compartments of the brain would actually shrink, and these previously unnoticed channels, almost like rivers between the different parts of the brain, were exposed, and different waste like amyloid beta tau tangles were coming out of the cell. They weren't being burned in the cell, which is what they thought before. They were coming out of the cell and they were going through the cerebrospinal fluid channels and then being taken out of the brain. They actually, Maiken Nedergaard, who is the Danish scientist at Cornell who discovered this, actually believes that nutrients are brought through that channel as well into the cells. So it's not yet proven, but that's quite tantalizing. But another study last year indicated that rapid eye movement, when you are sort of paralyzed and asleep, but your eyes are moving and you're in a dream state, is when autophagy or cellular renewal in the brain is happening. So sleep will do that, but it must be uninterrupted. And I always check my sleep using my Oura ring. Many of you have probably seen this before. A lot of biohackers have them. It is kind of a tribal, I don't know, tribal signifier, like a tattoo or something. But they're absolutely fantastic. I do love Oura. The technicians behind Oura, the chief technology officer is the former chief technology officer for Polar. That's the heart rate monitoring strap that you see a lot of runners wear. And a lot of the guys, can you see, maybe you can see in there, that do you see all of that fancy technology, which picks up my pulse and my body temperature. The rest of that tech team are actually ex-Nokia. The company's out of Finland. They do have a San Francisco office. Absolutely fantastic company. This ring weighs nothing. I've been wearing an Oura ring for, I don't know, many, many years now. Well, 3 years. And then before that, I was using another sleep monitor. But the reason that I do that is to really check and see if I'm getting fragmented sleep. I don't want fragmented sleep. And the only way you can tell if you've got it is either it's so obvious that or get one of these rings, and then you'll be able to see what small changes you make to your daily behaviors, the foods that you eat, and see whether or not they are positively or negatively affecting your sleep and leading to that sleep fragmentation that stops autophagy from happening. The final way that you can actually induce autophagy is, of course, by having spermidine rich foods or supplements. And so these would be things like, again from Japan, Japanese natto, which is a very long fermented tofu. And other places that you can get it from peas. There is some content in potatoes. You can get it from wheat germ. And, there are a variety of cheeses that you can get it from. So I think around 100 grams it's a kilo of cheddar cheese will give you 100 milligrams of spermidine. And so if you break that down, you could get, say, if you had 100 grams of cheese, and then you'd get around 10 milligrams of spermidine. And that's one way to do it. It can be Parmesan cheese, which you could add to, to a dish. It could be a cheddar, which you just have, neat as it is. For those of you who are avoiding dairy for inflammatory reasons, or because you're sensitive to the casein protein, then the thing to do would be see if your local Asian food market can supply you with natto. And while natto is an acquired taste, the best way to try and eat it is take a little bit and mix it in with maybe some white rice. Put in a little bit of medium chain triglycerides so that you're creating that white rice that you're having becomes a prebiotic. So there have been studies that show that boiled, cooled white rice, white sushi rice, can become a prebiotic fiber for our gut bugs, the happy ones in our gut biome. And spermidine is also produced there. So we want to keep our gut bugs happy. So you can do that, but you can then mix in a little bit of that natto and I guess it's sort of the blankness or dullness of the white rice kind of soaks up some of the pungency and sort of sticky unctuousness of the natto. So those are all ways that you can induce autophagy without having to fast. Just a quick recap, that would be things like intense exercise, ketogenic diet, deep sleep, spermidine-rich foods, or spermidine supplements. So I hope that this has been useful information to you, especially to those of you out there who are hypothyroid patients like me, who find it hard to do the fasting. And if you've got any questions at all, leave them in the comments below. I read each and every one, and I look forward to interacting with you in the forums. Take care.